There's a psychological weapon so powerful that Fortune 500 CEOs pay thousands to master it, yet you've probably used it by accident. The elite understand something about human nature that sounds completely backwards. The fastest way to make someone obsessed with you isn't by doing favors for them. It's by making them do favors for you. This is why your ex keeps texting at 2 a.m. This is why that person who rejected you suddenly can't stop thinking about you. And in the next 10 minutes, I'm going to reveal the exact neuroscience behind this phenomenon that will change how you see every relationship in your life. Let me tell you about Sarah. 6 months ago, her boyfriend of 3 years walked away without looking back. She begged, she pleaded, she sent the long texts we all regret. Nothing worked. Then she discovered something by accident. She needed help moving a single box from her apartment and casually mentioned it to him. He came over. 2 weeks later, she asked him to look at her car, making a strange noise. He showed up again. Within a month, he was the one initiating contact, asking to meet up, suddenly remembering all the good times. Sarah didn't chase him back. She did something far more psychologically sophisticated. This is the Ben Franklin effect, and it's one of the most counterintuitive principles in psychology. Benjamin Franklin himself discovered this in the 1700s when he wanted to win over a rival legislator who hated him. Instead of doing favors for this man, Franklin asked to borrow a rare book from his personal library. The rival agreed. Suddenly, their relationship transformed. The man who once despised Franklin became one of his closest allies. Franklin wrote, "He that has once done you a kindness will be more ready to do you another than he whom you yourself have obliged." This statement contradicts everything we think we know about relationships. Here's why this works at a neurological level. When someone does you a favor, their brain experiences cognitive dissonance. The primitive part of their mind asks, "Why am I helping this person?" Our brains are prediction machines that hate inconsistency. The only logical answer their subconscious provides is, "I must care about them. I must value them. Otherwise, why would I invest my time and energy?" This creates a psychological bond that's stronger than gratitude. You haven't just received help, you've made them justify their actions by upgrading your importance in their mental hierarchy. They've convinced themselves you matter. The traditional dating advice tells you to be helpful, to be the perfect partner, to do everything for them. This creates a dynamic where you're constantly proving your worth while they passively receive. But psychology reveals the opposite truth. When you're always the giver, you decrease your value in their eyes. They start seeing your efforts as expected, as baseline. There's no cognitive dissonance for them to resolve. No psychological puzzle that elevates your status in their mind. This is why the person who cares less often has more power. They're not cruel. They're just creating the space for the other person to invest and therefore attach. Now let's talk about why your ex keeps coming back. When the relationship ended, you probably went into overdrive trying to fix things. You offered to change, to be better, to give more. But then something shifted. You stopped reaching out. You started focusing on yourself. And suddenly, seemingly out of nowhere, they reappear. Here's what happened in their brain. During the relationship, you were constantly available, constantly giving. They had no cognitive dissonance to resolve about your value. But when you disappeared, every memory of them helping you, every small favor they did, suddenly stood out in stark contrast to your absence. Their brain started running a reconciliation program. Wait, I drove across town for them. I listened to their problems at midnight. I introduced them to my family. The subconscious mind reaches the only conclusion that makes sense. I must have really cared. They must have been important. And now that you're gone, that dissonance becomes unbearable. The favors they did for you become evidence of a connection they're now desperate to rationalize. This is why no contact works. Not because you're playing hard to get, but because you're giving their psychology time to work in your favor. But here's where most people mess this up. They think the Ben Franklin effect means manipulating people into doing things for you. That's not how the top 1% use this. They understand that the favor must feel organic and the request must be specific. It can't be a test, it has to be genuine. When you ask someone to recommend a book they love, to share their expertise on something they're passionate about, to give advice on a decision they're qualified to help with. You're creating three powerful psychological effects simultaneously. You're flattering their competence, creating investment, and building a shared narrative. They become part of your story. Let's get practical. The key is the size and nature of the favor. Too small, and it doesn't create enough investment. Too large, and it feels like a burden that breeds resentment. The sweet spot is something that takes 10 to 30 minutes of their time and taps into their identity. If they're into fitness, ask for a workout routine review. If they love music, ask them to create a playlist for a specific mood. If they're career-focused, ask for feedback on a project. You're not asking them to move furniture. You're asking them to share a piece of who they are. This makes the investment personal. Here's the secret timeline that changes everything. After they do the first small favor, wait 3 to 5 days before acknowledging how helpful it was. Then wait another week before making a second, slightly different request. This spacing is crucial. If you ask too quickly, it feels transactional. If you wait too long, the psychological investment fades. But this rhythm creates a pattern where they start anticipating ways to help you. They start looking for opportunities to invest. Within 3 to 4 interactions, you're no longer asking, they're offering. That's when you know the Ben Franklin effect has fully taken hold. Their identity has shifted to include being valuable to you. Now, the ethical question everyone avoids, is this manipulation? Here's the nuanced truth. Every interaction involves psychology. When you dress well on a date, you're using visual psychology. When you tell an engaging story, you're using narrative psychology. The Ben Franklin effect is only manipulative if your intent is purely extractive, if you're using people without genuine appreciation or reciprocity. But if you're building authentic connections and genuinely valuing what people offer, you're simply being psychologically intelligent. The most successful relationships aren't accidental. They're built on understanding how human attachment actually works, not how we romantically wish it worked. The reason the top 1% seem magnetically attractive isn't because they're more physically beautiful or successful. It's because they understand value creation in relationships. They know that making someone feel needed is more powerful than making someone feel wanted. Need creates identity. Want creates transaction. When you give someone the opportunity to contribute to your life in meaningful ways, you're elevating them. You're saying, you have something unique that I can't get anywhere else. This is the deepest form of respect, and it creates bonds that survive distance, time, and even breakups. Your ex keeps coming back because every investment they made is evidence to their own mind that you were extraordinary. So here's your action plan. Identify 3 people you want to deepen your connection with. For each person, craft one specific request that honors their expertise or passion. Make it genuine. Make it personal. Then watch what happens over the next 30 days. But remember this final truth. The Ben Franklin effect works both ways. The favors you do for others also increase your attachment to them. Choose wisely who you invest in, because psychology doesn't discriminate. It will bond you to whoever you consistently help just as powerfully. The secret isn't just making them obsessed with you, it's becoming obsessed with the right people. That's the hidden wisdom the elite guard carefully. Now you have it too.